In Kentucky, we have a number of protocols in place when we're talking about testing our public school students, and a lot of those relate specifically to students that have special needs. The students with the most severe disabilities in Kentucky are not tested in the same way that students who don't have disabilities are tested. In fact, some of them are exempted from testing. A small percentage, about 1% of all students with disabilities are exempted because the nature of the disability is so severe that there really isn't a form of testing that could be used to determine how well they're achieving. But students that have disabilities have the ability to participate in what's called the alternate portfolio.
And that was mentioned in the testimony.
I saw that was mentioned in the testimony, and that portfolio is very specifically designed for students with mild to moderate disabilities. Not those students with the most severe disabilities, but the ones that have moderate disabilities. And I think one of the issues that you run into here is that people tend to assume that any child with a disability can't learn at the same levels as a child without a disability, and that those children have something that prohibits them from participating in regular school activities like testing. And of course that's not the case. That's a very small percentage of students have disabilities that are severe enough that either they would not be tested or that they should be in the alternate portfolio. And again, that's like a 1% of the entire group. We have about 100,000 students in Kentucky's public schools that have been diagnosed with some kind of disability, and those of course range in depth.
Let's back up just a little bit and connect that with No Child Left Behind, because this is a hearing on No Child Left Behind.
Yes.
And so the implication is that somehow the alternate portfolio or the testing requirement, that all this was driven by No Child Left Behind. Is that true? And how much of this would have happened just on the state's own initiative versus how much of it is, quote, mandated by No Child Left Behind?
Well, in Kentucky, it's not all No Child Left Behind. Kentucky's been testing students in this fashion since the early 1990s. We were one of the first states to really implement an assessment and accountability system that provided a lot of data on how well students are doing, how well schools are doing, and how well their districts are doing. And we have tested children with disabilities at least since then. We've had alternative methods of assessing students since then. When No Child Left Behind came along, we folded our system into the requirements of that federal law. So although No Child Left Behind probably had that effect on other states that didn't have a statewide assessment and accountability program, in Kentucky we've been doing this for a long time. So No Child Left Behind didn't really require us to do a lot of new things like provide alternate assessments for students. What No Child Left Behind does is it requires that you have a high participation rate when you're testing students, and the participation rate is 95%. That's a lot. That's a very large percentage. In Kentucky, we didn't have any problem meeting that percentage because we were already testing at least 95% of our students, and that's all students. That includes students with disabilities, low-income students, English language learners, students of different ethnicities and income levels, whatever. We were already doing that. So I think that it is accurate to say that No Child Left Behind did require this. But what people need to realize is that in Kentucky we were already doing it before No Child Left Behind came along. So we have a lot of experience in this area.